We'll go to the next public comment. We have call-in user 8. I'm going to be sending a request to that person to unmute. We'll try one more time, and then if not, we'll go to the next person. On user 8, I've sent you a request to unmute. Right, I'm going to go to the next person, and we can go back to that if needed. All right, Chris Walker, I'm going to be sending you a request to unmute.
Of the Legislative Committee. Appreciate you discussing this bill today. I represent Chris Walker. I represent the California Sheet Metal Air Conditioning Contractors. We too have reached out to the author's office and have been working to understand this bill from our perspective. And we do have concerns. You know, we are licensed contractors. We're signatory to a collective bargain agreement where we have skilled and trained workers that we spend a lot of time and resources getting our technicians up to a certain level to fulfill the needs of the industry. And it's in the public interest that all codes, building codes, and other issues are followed, specifically Title 24, energy efficiency, public safety, in HVAC, even basic service. Their technicians are dealing with refrigerants, and this is not to be taken lightly in any way. And then finally, we have the consumer protection angle, and all of these laws have been developed to provide that would be undermined potentially. And finally, the consumer themselves, if someone is harmed while on the job site, they are not covered by the contractor and their bond and the workers' comp policies that they had to prove that they had to begin work. And so for all of those reasons, we share concerns and appreciate the dialogue of the committee. Thank you.
And I'll now be sending a request to Ernesto Macias to unmute. Send the request again.
Okay. You hear me there?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody on board for letting me speak on this agenda item C regarding AB 2622. As a contractor myself, or working for a contractor ourselves, we do feel this would create an unfair bidding process for projects that are out there if they were to be raised to $5,000 or more. And just to echo what the CCC had said in regards to bid splitting, we see this taking place now as it is, as a licensed contractor and the work that we do, and raising these projects to $5,000 would create just an unfair bidding practice taking place. It is already an issue, and it would create it and make it a bigger issue. And me being as a property owner in the state of California, I would have concerns with my neighbors hiring these unqualified personnel that are unlicensed. There's if they're not licensed, there's no bond that's in place. There's no workers' comp that's in place. Something takes place on one of my neighbor's property. If they hire an unlicensed contractor, comes and destroys my property or creates a fire, and then there goes a neighborhood, this could create just issues just in that field alone as well. So I do want to echo everyone that has been opposing this item, and I would just like to put that in there as well, that I would strongly urge everyone to oppose this. Thank you.
All right, I am sending GT a request to unmute.
For allowing me to speak to the board and addressing this as an understanding of all the safety issues and concerns that causes of going to $500 to $5,000, it's completely acceptable. There's so many concerns as doing backup work last year in my personal property, our plumbing got damaged. The city had to come out. So yes, I am opposed to this increase, but my main concern, what I want to bring to the board is, as being surrounded by people who are on the underground market, there's not many help for them to get their licenses. So as one of as I believe Mark said earlier, to in place something that will help them raise their standard to get that licensing. I think it's something that the board should really take even more serious, to allow these underground people to actually become licensed and create the safety for consumers like me to actually start contracting out licensed people and make it into a standard bar where we're no longer having to look for underground contractors, because again, inflation is here, there's cost of material, but again, safety is our priority. So I think I just want to raise that I do believe the board should have more community builds, informing other people how to get those licenses. So that's all I wanted to comment on today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will call upon Paul Cheney.
I'm Bernardino, and I've been a D49 licensed contractor since 1992. I'm currently in line to take the test for the C49. And as you know, tree service is not construction. It's more like we're taking apart trees and protecting our clients, our customers from damage that trees could do if they happen to break and fall. So my comment on this is about what is the environmental damage that an unlicensed or a licensed contractor can do for $500 or for $5,000. One of the reasons the C49 was instituted was because this D49 was an unvetted license classification. In other words, you had untested, unproven, unknowledgeable people out doing tree service work since 1992, even though they had experience, but experience doing things the wrong way. So just think about all the planning that goes into trying to mitigate urban heat island with tree canopy over parking lots and shading buildings and pavement. All of that is being undone by unlicensed and licensed contractors at this point. So again, the question is, how much damage can an unlicensed contractor do for $500? A lot. You could destroy very valuable trees, and this is being done in my area every day. There's tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage being done every day by both unlicensed and licensed contractors. With the C49 being instituted, where they are being tested and vetted for knowledge and competency, that will diminish over time, but you still have all these unlicensed people out there, some with $150,000, $200,000 worth of equipment, setups, a truck and chipper, and they're out there working as though there was no license law at all. So again, the $5,000 limit, you can do a lot of damage for that. And if we can keep that $500 limit, that's going to be much better for our consumers and most importantly for our environment. We're not going to have the damage to our urban tree canopy, you know, where our cities are getting hotter and hotter.
You have 30 seconds to go.
And one of the reasons is because the shade that the people are planting that shade to mitigate, you know, under the Environmental Quality Act, you know, it's just going away because of this damage. You look at the Costco or the Sam's Club or the Home Depots or the Lowe's in our areas, all those trees are mutilated to the point where there's no shade, and you go to park in the shade at one of those stores, you don't have it. That's the end.
right.
Thank you for your comment.
Right. And then we're going to go to the next comment. Jacob Castorino. I send you a request to unmute. Jacob, are you there? I see you're unmuted, but I'm not hearing you. Okay, we'll go to the next comment. We can come back to you. Okay, I'm going to go to Jeff Aron. Send you a request to unmute.
This is Jeff Aaron with the California Sign Association. We've been serving California since 1959. Our association represents C45 contractors. For all of the reasons that have been stated previously, we would urge this committee to recommend and oppose that the board oppose this legislation. And in addition, I would like to comment that in some ways, this penalizes the legitimate contractor who is out there trying to be the legitimate licensed contractor, I should say. So I don't need to reiterate everything everyone else has said. It's been a very well stated presentation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go to Jeremy Smith. I'll send you a request to unmute.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council of California. We are a council of construction trade unions who collectively represent 450,000 construction workers who are in unions. Just wanted to weigh in here as well with concerns and opposition to the bill in print. We have had conversations with Assemblymember Carrillo and his staff on where they're going to go with this bill, and we look forward to those conversations continuing. We appreciate that outreach and consideration. We do unfortunately have to oppose the bill today because of what is in print right now. This bill is scheduled to be heard on April 9th. I just wanted to throw some data out. The last time that this bill was introduced back in 2021, we found that the CSLB reports at that time, there were 4,000, quote, non-licensee, unquote, complaints to the CSLB. And the Senate Business and Professions Committee analysis for SB 304 noted that the CSLB receives an average of approximately 20,000 complaints annually, coming from a variety of sources, including consumers, homeowners, other contractors, subcontractors, employees, or other public agencies. In that report, they noted, the CSLB noted, that consumers make up the majority of the complaints. In a further study by CSLB related to contractor licensing bond requirements, it was reported that approximately 26% of the CSLB's complaints are for contracts between $500 and $5,000, the range with the highest percentage of complaints received. It's clear, even with our existing strong licensing law, that there are still thousands of people posing as contractors in the underground economy who often prey on unsuspecting consumers who might be elderly, unsophisticated, or simply taken advantage of. And that is one thing that has not changed in the last 25 years, the underground economy, both the scope and the depth. And that is why the current $500 threshold is critical so that the CSLB can carry out its consumer protection it can carry out what it does for consumers to protect them in this environment and ensure that unscrupulous contractors or unscrupulous folks in the underground economy who don't want to be a contractor aren't able to take advantage not only of consumers, but workers and homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, I'm going to send JP Tenore a request to unmute.
exemption for under 500 bucks or 5,000 bucks really is a handyman's exemption. And for individuals, hire one person to another person, that's okay. But for commercial work, it's not. It puts the public at risk and at danger. Some of these techs, they're just techs, and they barely know what a punch tool is, much less plenum cable. And I can give you an example where there's a case where whole entire discount stores are wired, where it's basically excuse the noise. There's a lot of noise. Basically, we're install the amplifier, install the cabling for the sound system, all the network cabling, the network rack, put in the network rack. Basically, what you can do is what they'll do in this industry is say, okay, go ahead and rough out all the cables, and that's probably $2,500. And then go ahead and do all the tech work, and you'll have companies like Work Market and Field Nation that do tech work, the gig work. They'll grow rampant, and it'll absolutely destroy my industry. And really, it should be not just $500, but a handyman's exemption. It should be nothing. And everybody should have to have a license in order to do this work. And same with not just low voltage, but high voltage, especially if you do panel work or something like that. They really should have an exemption on that, or no exemption on that other than handyman. Okay, I think that's pretty much. Sorry about the noise. Hopefully, I put my point down or stated my point.
Thank you. Yes, we heard you clear.
All right. I'll be calling on Mark Porter and sending a request to unmute.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. That said, I help work on the C49 development of the tree trimming classification. We worked really hard on this test, trying to help the industry, try to protect the consumer. What Paul Cheney said has a lot of sense, makes a lot of sense. We're definitely opposed to AB 2622 as presented. I've worked on 5 cases, at least 5 cases, as an expert witness where unlicensed palm climbers are falling out of trees, either dying or getting hurt really bad, and they're suing the homeowner. This is outrageous. I've published little comments on nextdoor.com every time somebody is looking for a tree trimmer. The unlicensed tree trimmers come out of the woodwork. It's ridiculous. To have a homeowner be sued, allowing unlicensed contractors to work in cities, they go buy a business tax permit from the city and they tell people they're licensed. And it's fraud. There's so much fraud out there. It's uncontrollable. There's bad tree work. They're non-compliant with industry standards, the ANSI A300 pruning standards, and the ISA best management practices. They don't have workers' comp. This proposal would be ludicrous to pass. This needs to go away real fast, not even make it to committee. It's terrible. And I appreciate the time and the effort that CSLB is making, and I'm confident you'll make the correct decision today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Chief White, I'm seeing about 6 more commenters, correct?
Let's see, at least 7 or 8.
Okay, thank you.
But I will call upon the next one. All right. With that, I will call upon Patrick Mahoney, and I will send you a request to unmute. Not seeing an option for him to be unmuted. I'll go to the next person. We can always come back. Let's see. Go to Peter Michelini, and I'll send you a request to unmute.
And after Peter, I'd like to, the Assembly Member's Office would like to weigh in again on this one. So
Yes, I will call upon them after Peter. Okay, the person disappeared on here. I'll call on the Assembly Member's Office in that case then. All right, Clorag. Oh, what? Peter Michelini is on here. We'll go with him first. Sorry, he didn't pop up right away.
I'm sorry, we had difficulty unmuting. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Pete Michelini. I'm with Sign Designs. We're a C45 contractor here in California. I'm also on the board and two-time past president of the California Sign Association. We are opposed to this increase to $5,000, and mainly from a service standpoint. You know, we manufacture and install electric signage. We have our name and our UL label on it to make sure that everything is correct and safe for public here in California. We're very concerned about unlicensed contractors coming in and servicing our signs that still have our name and our UL label on them. Very quickly, 3 examples. Record store that we serviced was arcing, like there was electrical arcing. It was a midnight call. We went out to service and we shut the sign off. The owner called an unlicensed contractor to make the repairs the next day. That night, the building burned to the ground. We were called out to remove a sign cabinet that was embedded in a wall. The sign cabinet couldn't be removed because it was embedded in the wall. We pulled all the electrical back to the panel. An unlicensed contractor hooked it back up, which resulted in the death by electrocution of one of the workers at that facility. And just last week, we were called to retrofit a gas station price sign with LED price digits and do an internal LED retrofit for the illumination. And then we were asked not to do the internal illumination because it was already done. When we opened it up, we found that an unlicensed contractor put in one compact fluorescent light with bare wires and Christmas lights. And we refused to work on it at that point because we're not going to touch it. And we actually told the client that we need to retrofit that farm properly. There's so much of this going on. We're one company in one trade, and there are so many trades and so many companies. We're seeing this all over the place. California Sign Association is willing to work with unlicensed contractors to get them the qualifications and the education they need to become licensed contractors. So when we come across unlicensed contractors, we don't necessarily push them away. We try to bring them in and educate them and get them licensed. And as far as the number of contractors out there working,
30 seconds.
Number of contractors working illegally, raising a limit to make them legal is not a good replacement for enforcement. Enforcement and education is the key to this. So we are opposed. Thank you for your time.
Chair Mark, can I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead. Register
phone. First I want to apologize. I didn't realize we'd have this amount of public comments. Fantastic, though, to have all the input. It's a very interesting agenda item. But the reason why is I would like to make you aware that Rodney Cobos must leave at 11 o'clock. And unless we can get another committee member to join us, that means the meeting will need to adjourn at 11. And I understand that Senator Carrillo's office would like to speak.
Thank you for that update. I guess we'll turn it over to Assembly Member Carrillo's office. And register folk. I think Amanda Gallo was trying to join. Can someone from staff try and reach out to her, please?
Yeah, we're calling her Amanda Guile right at this time to see if she can join, so we would be able to maintain our quorum.
Thank you.
And I've just sent a request to Galarza Nagra with Carrillo's office.
Perfect. Can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Yeah, so again, just want to reiterate the bill in print and appreciate everyone's comments on the bill in print. But again, we definitely look forward to kind of honing our approach. And I just like to say, you know, we concur that as much consumer protection as possible, you know, that's a goal that we share. To have all of these folks licensed, if an admirable goal, but again, that's not the reality on the ground there. And I think we can all agree that there are a plethora of unlicensed folks. And I think I'd just like to reiterate that the problem that we are seeing is that, you know, this $500 amount has not been adjusted since 1998, when it was raised from 300. And it is in our view that this amount is too low in the context of these inflationary costs of labor and materials. And, you know, what we have heard and, you know, what this means for consumers is that many unlicensed contractors with the $500 cap are unable to find and take jobs that pay them adequately. Either, you know, they find that in the course of their work, costs of labor and materials quickly surpass that $500 cap. So again, I gave the example of a fence being painted. You know, I'm not a homeowner, but I can say I've heard anecdotes, you know, from other folks in my office saying, you know, we called some a licensed contractor to bring out some guys to paint a fence for us, and they were kind of like, well, do you have any other projects, any other work you need? Kind of needing that incentive to come out, that cost incentive. So, you know, and again, on the unlicensed contractor end, if they do hire an unlicensed contractor, they often, with the economic context of today, find that price for the project surpasses the $500 cap. And so that kind of leaves the consumer with these unfavorable choices. On the one hand, they can hope a licensed contractor can take on their minimal and therefore less profitable project. But most likely consumers want their projects completed quickly and easily. And so consumers will then inevitably illegally hire someone to do a job that is over that $500 cap. And so I guess that's kind of, again, just wanted to reiterate that kind of problem that we're seeing. And, you know, taking all these factors into account, we completely acknowledge that there is a potential for bad actors. And again, moving forward with our legislation, we want to prevent that as much as possible. As to what that looks like, we're still figuring out. And again, want to thank everyone for their comments. And this has all been super helpful as we move forward.
Thank you for that. I'm hoping we can get through, and board member Cobos, the hard out is 11 o'clock, correct?
Yeah, Chair Mark, could we take a 10-minute break? We believe that Amanda Guy will be able to join us in about 10 minutes. We'll be able to regain our quorum.
That's a great possibility, but Chair, board member Cobos, what is your hard out?
You know what, I could stay on for another 15, 20 minutes.
We still have 2 public comments remaining.
Yeah, I think there's just 2 public comments. That might work out really well. We'll have 2 public comments and then have board discussion, and then we'll take a break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to send a request to call in user 8 to, again, to unmute. On user 8, I've sent you in a request to unmute. Okay, we're gonna go to the next comment again, and then we'll come back. We have 2 more comments. One person who was not able to unmute earlier, Patrick Mahoney, I believe, didn't comment earlier. Oh, calling user 8 is on, so I will let that person go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I work with the service and repair contract, and I do that pretty much daily. And if I can only work for $750, and they want to raise the people to work without a license to $5,000, that's not fair. A few years ago, they were trying to raise the $500 to $1,000, and at the same time, they wanted to raise the service and repair contract to $1,500. You know, to me, that makes sense. I mean, I can understand materials and labor. It's hard to do things for $500 for non-licensed guys. I'm doing it for $750, and I'm paying insurances and all those things. So you really need to first raise the service and repair contract to at least $1,500, if not to $2,000, before you raise the unlicensed guys up to, say, $1,000. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Right, and now we will go to Patrick Mahoney, and I'll send him a request to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm Patrick Mahoney, been a licensed contractor for 45 years. Hold a B, C27, C49, C31, C21, and a D49. I worked real close with the license board on getting the new tree maintenance license passed, and very proud of that. But along with that came where we were able to get contractors to have workers' comp, because all these guys that weren't licensed never had workers' comp insurance. But your typical tree maintenance job for residential work is under $5,000. So the problem we were having with them not being licensed was all of these workers getting hurt. So there's a lot of unlicensed doing this work under almost all residential work is under 5,000. So along with everybody else, I strongly oppose seeing this going forward. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and then we have the San Diego Regional Urban Forest Council, and I'm going to be sending them a request to unmute.
Yeah, so I represent urban forest stakeholders in the San Diego region that are involved in the required care for trees. In reviewing the AB 2622, we're very concerned with what's considered minor work exemption and its effect on tree care. When you evaluate the urban forests and really where the urban tree canopies are, the largest percentage of urban forest canopies reside on private properties. These private property canopy contributions are critical to the integrity of our overall urban forest benefits, as they provide, cleaner air, lower, temperatures, reduced energy costs, stormwater retention, wildlife habitat, lots and lots of benefits. These trees require professional tree care to maximize. For the state to say that no license is required for the management of those individual trees and consider it minor work is just wrong. These individual trees will likely fall into the category of minor exemption because they are going to be usually under that $5,000 range. We need to keep these trees maintained by licensed qualified professionals to maximize the benefits that we all get to have from those trees. And there also is an additional concern with the unlicensed workers' safety, which is previously mentioned by other speakers. We'd like to support, denying this AB 2622 from going forward, and please move forward with either revising it or making it go away altogether for the betterment of urban forests and tree workers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Was there any other public comment?
Yes, and I would like to know, there is someone on the public comment who's already commented, so I want to tell him that you've already used your 3 minutes, so you cannot come again on this item. So that is why I'm lowering your hand. And then we do have one final person who is David, so I'll be sending him a request to unmute. Okay. David, you
Bass.
should be unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is David Bass. I sell insurance in Orange County, LA County for quite some time, and we sell insurance to contractors. We oppose this on the basis that the whole idea of licensing is not just to verify the competency of the contractor, but also to introduce that person to like the idea of oversight, and that there are there are rules and laws that they need to look out for. They can't just willy-nilly build rooms on the back of people's houses. but also, when someone gets licensed, they have to get a bond, which gives somebody a remedy if there's financial misdealings. If you allow people to do this big work without getting bonds, that denies the homeowner or whoever's hiring these people of any legal remedy, right? And furthermore, they also have a tendency to believe that anybody that does work for them is a subcontractor. Like, I can't express to you the degree of how much this is happening across the state, of how often a contractor just hires people from Home Depot and just says that they're subcontractors, but they're not. And the people that do this most are the unlicensed people. So by allowing more people to do work unlicensed, you're taking away the remedies for people to go after unlicensed contractors for financial misdealings, and you're not extending the oversight to them. And yes, that's it for now.
And I'm seeing no more public comments at this time.
Thank you. I appreciate your comment. I'm assuming, well, first and foremost, I appreciate everyone's comments today. It was very eye-opening as a committee member hearing all of the public testimony. I appreciate the Assembly Member's Office, Assemblymember Carrillo's staff attending and hearing all the public comments. I hear where they have a concern and the reasoning for having the bill set at the 5,000 mark. I think, in my opinion, from hearing the staffers' comments, we need to figure out a way to help uplift these individuals into a current license. That's in my opinion. Secondly, when we're talking about all of the enforcement issues and underground economy concerns, it would be helpful if the office can help provide some sort of additional possible funding mechanism for enforcement of our board, and that would help alleviate some of these items that you said the homeowners were facing. So again, my position was on this particular bill to oppose unless amended, and I'm hoping, it sounds like the staffer is in the office of Carrillo is looking to help provide some guidance. I think when there was such a big change between $500 to $5,000, that is why there was so much commenters today. But in the end, in my opinion, we need to help uplift these unlicensed individuals into a license and figure out a way to accomplish that. And I appreciate all the other stakeholders who said they were willing to help in that aspect as well. With that, is there any other committee member comments? Seeing no other committee members' comments, I think all the committee members were able to speak on this. What we're going to do is take a 10-minute break right now, and then we'll move on to our next agenda item. Staff, can you put a 10-minute timer up on the board? Thank you. We will return at 11:20.
move it right back to item, move it to item C.
We're live.
Yeah.
All right, so my time shows 11:19. We got another minute, but I could hear everybody loud and clear. So the time is 11:20. We will resume our meeting. I have, just as a reminder, board members, during this committee meeting, you will have to turn your camera on. And if you are not able to, you could please let register folk know. So agenda item C, I think we are done with this particular agenda item, but not this item. So I want to make sure register folk would like me to kick it off to him. So before we go to the next item, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Just two things. One, the Amanda could turn her camera on would be helpful. And I'd like, though, with your concurrence, sure, Mark, turn it over to David Gonzalez. He is the policy manager for Senator Dodd. Really appreciate that he's been waiting for an opportunity to speak. So if that's okay with you, can we ask David Gonzalez to say a few words on behalf of Senator Dodd's office?
Sure.
Catherine, we may need to unmute David Gonzalez if he's on the line for Senator Dodd's office.
I see a David on the panelists, but he does not have his hand raised. David, if you are there, can you please raise your hand?
Is Catherine there?
Okay, his hand is raised. All right, the floor is yours, David. Go ahead. David Gonzalez, you are unmuted currently, but we cannot hear you.
He just wrote in the comments that he's speaking, but I don't hear him either. And he is unmuted. So I'm not sure what's happening here.
Maybe what we can do is circle back and try another option. For WebEx, if your audio options, you might need to change your microphone to something different. It's that little arrow on the mute bar.
Yeah, showing unmuted. So, but I'm not seeing any sound movement on the mute on the microphone button.
Okay, well, maybe what we'll do is move on. I just want to make sure for committee's time, I think there might be some more hard outs. Register folk, I want to kick it over to you. You had a couple comments.
Thank you, Chair Mark. Unfortunately, it appears we may have lost our quorum. Do we have a quorum?
We have 4.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I wanted to just mention something about the Senate Bill 1071. This relates to the former Senate Bill 216 that will require workers' compensation insurance for all licensed contractors January 1st, 2026. Effective January 1st, 2023, 6 license classifications are required to have workers' compensation insurance.
Hello, can you hear me?
There has been calls to Senator Dodd's office and calls to the Contractor State License Board Executive Office from licensed contractors that were not happy that they're having to purchase workers' compensation insurance because they argue or they assert that they do not have workers. We did have an analyst that has returned all calls on behalf of Senator Dodd's office and on behalf of the CSLB. And it's interesting, I just want to share for the committee some of what that analyst learned. And the callers are generally stating that they're a semi-retired contractor and they're just doing small jobs at this point. They don't have workers. We've had general contractors that have called stating that they sub out all the work to subcontractors, therefore they don't have workers. Others say they do just minor service and repair work. So it hasn't been a whole lot of calls. I think we called back, this is just in the last, I think 30 to 60 days, about eight different callers. And so we did a little report on it. I just say that for what it's worth. I mean, we didn't have perhaps as many calls as we thought we would have received. Now, in preparing for this meeting, I discussed this agenda item with Board Chair Diana Love, and she was agreeable, if the committee is in favor of this, of appointing a two-person advisory committee to conduct a stakeholder meeting. So that would include the Department of Insurance, any type of workers' comp carriers, contractors, any of you that are on the call today would be invited to the stakeholder meeting. And that's if the committee's in favor of it. The two board members that we identified as leading it would be Michael Mark, our chair today, and Miguel Galarza. Miguel was not able to attend this meeting. He is on the ledge committee. He is one of the two general building contractors on our board. So that's kind of my update. Just wanted to share that with the committee.
Okay, thank you, David, for that. And David Gonzalez, we can hear you that second time, so the floor is yours now.
Oh, you can hear me now. Great. I appreciate the chance to be here. My name is David Gonzalez, and I have the pleasure of working for State Senator Bill Dodd. Soon after the July 1, 2023 phase of the SB 216 implementation, our office started receiving calls from contractors angry with the new requirements to maintain workers' compensation insurance, even though they were sole proprietors with no employees. A couple of these individuals indicated they would not renew their licenses. I assume this was a comment born of frustration at the ever-increasing cost of doing business in California. But we heard during the recent Senate Business and Professions Sunset Review hearing that included the CSLB that license renewals in California are down significantly. Further, the decrease matches the experience we realized when roofing contractors were required to have workers' compensation insurance back in 2006. Obviously, we are concerned with contractors working without a license. We are also concerned about contractors leaving the business and exacerbating an already existing shortage of qualified contractors. Senator Dodd has introduced SB 1017 with the goal of finding an appropriate fix, and we do believe it needs a fix, to the conundrum we find ourselves in where contractors are abandoning their license because of the new requirement. We would appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And if you heard Register Folk, it sounds like our board chair, Chair Love, is looking to appoint a two-person, or did appoint a two-person subcommittee on this very issue to hear the concerns of the public and from your office. And she appointed myself as well as board member Galarza. Register Folk, what's our time for quorum right now? How much longer do we have within this meeting ability?
I understand that Jim Ruane may have to depart in about 5 minutes, Jim, is that correct? 5 minutes, so we'll again lose our quorum, I believe. So I just want to mention that we do have a full board meeting. It will be in person here in Sacramento, and it's April the 18th. So for anything we don't get to today, I will recommend to Chair Love that we place it on the agenda so that we can continue the discussion on the 18th of April.
So with that, I would like to make sure we have at least these last 5 minutes to, is there any committee member comment on this particular bill? that we can make sure it's referenced. Seeing none. I'll weigh in a little bit on this. I look forward to sitting on the subcommittee on this particular SB 1017 and how CSLB can partner. I hear your concerns regarding the roofers when workers' comp became mandatory for that particular sub tier. To my understanding, after the first couple of years, the licensee went back to the same population. So in my opinion, I think when the original bill was introduced, that particular item, we knew there was going to be a drop, but then eventually everyone's going to come back because they understand the importance of consumer protection and having a license and being a licensed contractor. So yes, I look forward to hearing more. Is there any other committee comment? We won't have enough time to go into depth with the full program for this particular item. So we might just end that committee comment. So with that, Register of Folk, can you please make sure for all remaining agenda items, I know I think we should obviously have this at our next board meeting. It's scheduled for April 18th and 19th, or I believe 19th. That way we can make sure we have all public comment associated with the remaining agenda items. And with that, is there any other business that we can take care of right now, Register Folk?
I don't think so, Chair Mark.
Oh,
I just wanted to note, we do have two people who are raised hands for public comment. I know if we don't have time, but I wanted to make sure how we want to proceed with that going forward.
I think, as David Vogt said, these items will be recommended to be placed as agenda items on the April 18 meeting, and all public comment will be welcome there. I apologize for the lengthy meeting. It wasn't expected, but we can't continue without a quorum. And if they want to put something in the chat, you can certainly
respond to that. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so if you guys, I'll reiterate, if you had a public comment and you would like to make sure staff is in contact with you, just put your information in the chat, and staff will write down your information so we can kind of hear your concerns. And then also, I'm assuming, Register of Folk, this particular subcommittee meeting will be, if you have interests in attending that, please make sure you're putting that in the chat as well. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time. We will adjourn this meeting, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the first time we've had a meeting with our quorum.
And just for reference, for the hearing room, you're not muted. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just muted them.